everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Schreiner. A couple of things I want to talk about today. Crunch Week. That's the way you can look at it. 21st is the eclipse, and that will either serve as a sign of things to come or a wake-up call of the things that are happening. I'm not really talking about it tonight because it's not where the Lord wants me. Although I'd mention it because, this week I got a lot of things to do. I'm just putting my head down and getting some projects done. And so I'm not going to be answering all the eons of emails I get with questions from people I don't know. I would rather spend my last days with people I do know, people who are supporters of this war, of this ministry, long-time supporters. And it's just rude that so many people just contact you and expect you to spend unlimited hours of your time on them. And you don't even know who they are. They've never been a friend of yours, never been a supporter. Haven't heard from them, don't know them from Adam and Eve. And they just demand all your time. And so not doing that this week. And other than the basic people who are looking for help on getting the orgone out, getting it made, you have a couple questions, I don't mind those. Because that's what we do. We get out the orgone. That's what the Father has shown us, our weapon to use in these days. And that's what we do. And so I'll always ask questions on those because time is short. Bizarre weather at the end of August. It's already, after this week, it's going to be towards the end of August. It'll be 21st on Monday. I told you to watch for blood red moons. And people have been pouring in pictures for the past month since I announced that with blood red moons. That was the sign that the pole flip was near. That's what he said to watch for, blood red moons. I finally got to see one myself the other night. It was rising in the east. It was blood red. Seems like everybody on the west or northwest had been seeing the blood moons, and people on the East Coast are waving their hands. I want to see. I'm not paying much attention to the false flag in Virginia, and I have no idea what's even going on with that. Something about someone running into people at a rally. You guys need Soros insurance. If you're going to go out and bang the pavement for Soros, you should get Soros insurance in case you end up hurt. The Father wanted me to tell you guys tonight that you cannot have faith without works. And he was telling me that earlier. And this is a concept I understand very well, but one the churches have gone to sleep on because they're so far apostate. They don't even know what the word means. They think it doesn't apply to them, when they're the very ones it does. In James it says, "For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also." And in James 2:14, and I love this one, the answer to this one. James 2:14 says, "What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he hath faith and not have works? Can faith save him? Can faith alone save him?" In other words. And in verse 17, "Even so faith, if it hath not works, is dead, being alone." And so on one of these Christian apologetic websites, it states that James is contradictory to other scriptures that preach eternal security, and so you have to ignore James. But who is he contradictory against? Of course, Paul. Paul's scriptures. Then they start quoting scriptures from Ephesians and 1 Corinthians and all of Paul's books that are contradictory to James' teachings. And so you have to ignore James and accept Paul's scriptures. Really? Really? James was the brother of Yahushua. James was the leader of the church in Jerusalem. And he was an apostle. He was not only a disciple and a brother of the Lord's, but an apostle as well, which means he witnessed his resurrection. That was the requirement to be an apostle, was that you had to have walked and knew Yahushua before he died on the cross, and you had to have witnessed his resurrection. You had to have seen him alive after he arose from the grave 3 days later. That was the requirement. Now, who doesn't meet these requirements and yet claims he's an apostle? Paul. He's not an apostle. We don't have 13 apostles. We have 12. Matthias replaced Judas, not Paul. They took out 13 of the apostles' books, and even Enoch, Jasher, Jubilees, books that they refer to, even Yahushua referred to. Enoch was the greatest patriarch that ever walked on the planet. He never died. He never saw death. And they took him out and 12 others. And who did they put in? Paul. They just called those extra books the Apocrypha. They took out those books and they put in Paul's. And Paul is the God of the churches today. They'll take Paul's scriptures over James. They'll take Paul over Yahushua. Paul is his own God in the New Testament, and that is the God churches worship today. He wasn't numbered with the apostles. He wasn't one of them. He didn't qualify to be one of them. And yet the churches embrace him more than Yahushua today. There is no eternal security. No, you do not have to work for salvation. It's given to you freely. But faith without works is dead. If you don't have works, then your faith is dead. It's meaningless. Now, what kind of works are we talking about? Someone's works could be their life, their example that they live for the Lord, that they profess his name, they profess his salvation. The Father is the focus of their life. He is a priority. They try to live for him. They walk in his Spirit. They are filled with his Spirit. These are works that they produce for the Lord. They profess his name. They proclaim his name. So many people don't even make the Lord a priority. They think that they can declare a 30-minute salvation, a 30-second salvation prayer, and then go back to sin. They have no works. That's why I told you on shows. I've told you on shows before that the death prayer that a lot of these fools make, Satanists will make, witches or anybody who thinks that a minute before they die, they could actually ask for forgiveness and say the salvation prayer because they all know it. And they'll escape hell by doing that. And that's not true. They can't escape hell because they don't have works to prove that their acceptance of his salvation was sincere. They don't have any works. Now, the reason the Lord gave the thief on the cross next to him, because he knew his heart. His heart was pure. He knew his heart. He wanted to be with him and for eternity. The thief wanted to be with him, not escape hell, not use salvation as a crutch just to escape hell. The Father knows your intents, and you can't fool him. Ignore James. Really? Yeshua said, by their fruits you will know them. Somebody knows, just by the kind of person you are, that you're one of his. I hate to use the term Christian because very symbolic of the apostate Christians of today. The early believers never called themselves Christians. They called themselves Judahites. And the others were called Edomites. And the Edomites were all the hybrids, and they were Cain's seed. And they had mixed with the Judahite Jews. And the Edomites were most notably known as the Pharisees. And what the Pharisees did was what they always do, was pervert and legalize the Old Testament, the Torah. But what they kept part of it, but then they did away with the legalisms of the law to benefit themselves and social status and wealth, like they do now. Look at the Pharisees leading the big churches today. One of the biggest signs of the end of the age was the apostate churches, was the false Christ and false prophets. They're not coming, folks. They're here. Look around us. Look at who's leading the Christians today. The Benny Hinns and the Kenneth Copelands and the Hillsong, whatever you want to call that thing. Pedophile church. Rock concert. I don't know. I haven't heard a good thing about it. But it's one all the celebrities are flocking to. They put themselves up as position of influence. I remember, what's his name? CBN, or not Oral Roberts, the other one, Pat Robertson. He was promoting the RFID chip back in the 90s, or was it the early 2000s? He was on his show back then promoting chip implanting. They're going to use their positions of influence to promote the RFID chip, to promote beast worship. There are basic tenements of biblical truths. The tenements, the foundation of Christianity, of the true church. And that is that Yahushua, which is his real name, not Jesus Christ. His real name is Yahushua. That he was born of a virgin, that he died on the cross, that he rose again 3 days later. These are the basic foundation truths of the Bible. And so if any person is not teaching these truths, then they're not the Father's. They're not from him. When's the last time you heard a good salvation message coming from the Pope? When's the last time he pounded on his little Pope mobile a heaven or hell speech or sermon? When's the last time? Did you ever talk to a Catholic? They don't even know what a repentance prayer is, what a prayer of salvation is. They don't know the basic truths of Christianity. They don't know what salvation is. They don't read their own Bibles. They're told, their priests will tell them what it is. That's how they control you. Don't read it, we'll tell you what it says. That's control. That's religious mind control. Cults do that too. Jehovah's Witnesses are given books to read, scriptures to read from their own sect. It's religious control, mind control. And how many preachers today are denying the cross and denying the very tenements of the biblical truths? Joel Osteen embraces homosexuality. They embrace sins that Father says will cast you into hell, can cast you into hell. Oh, folks, y'all just need to get out of the churches today. They're not doing you a bit of good. You see these Christians, these pseudo-Christians online, and all they do is pound the pavement with Paul scriptures, and they proclaim, ignore James because he's contradictory to Paul. We have to embrace Chrislam because the Pope says so. Because it's okay to be gay because Joel Osteen says so. Pedophilia is okay because Hillsong says so. Really? What if people start quoting the Lord himself? Faith without works is dead. If you don't have any works to show that your focus and your priority in life is the Father, When you have dead faith, you're a carcass. You're dead. Because to be a true, repentant, born-again, bought believer, you have the Spirit of the Father in you. And that's one of the most easily recognizable things about people, is whether they're filled with the Lord's Spirit or the absence of it. There's a lot of people hanging in the balance that either decide, get off the fence sitting, because you're either one of the Lord's or you're not. Satan gets you on default. I get these people who send me hate mail, and they give me their opinions on what they think hell is and what they think God would say or God says. I don't need your opinions, folks. I don't care if you like hell or not. It doesn't make it go away. It's still there. It still exists. You say a loving father wouldn't create a hell, really? So if somebody raped and tortured your child and killed it, a loving father would do nothing to that criminal? There would be no justice? You can't have love without justice. You can't have reward without condemnation. What kind of fruit are you going to lay at his feet? Look, I focused my entire life on you. You know, you influence a lot of other people when you do that. And a lot of other people who know you get influenced by that, whether they ever say anything to you directly or indirectly. You inspire other people. That's a fruit. That's a trait they admire about you. Because they see the love of the Father in you, or they see that your whole life is dedicated to the Father. We're not perfect, but we're focused. We do stupid things. We say stupid things. But we're focused, and our lives are dedicated to the Father. And we're filled with His Spirit, because once your life is focused and dedicated on the Father, you feel His Spirit within you. He leads you. He guides you. For those who can be led and guided by Him. A lot of people been in churches for 30 years or their entire lives just now starting to grasp what it is to sit at the Father's feet and ask Him for the truth in all things. And now they're so excited because they've never felt more close to the Father than any other time in their life. Sitting in churches week after week after week, never did it. It was when they started sitting at His feet and asking for the truth in all things and to show them what the truth is, to pull them closer to Him, and now they're all excited because they have a relationship with the Father that they were looking for and they just never could find. I don't teach you this stuff in the churches. I had to leave the churches to find God. He isn't lost. He's always there. But the churches don't lead you to Him. They lead you to them because they want you to come in every week and fill up their little KFC chicken can. Donate your tithes and offerings so they can pay their bills and their salaries. Most of them don't get beyond that, but hey, they get a salary. I've been working for 17 years. I've never got a salary. I work 24/7, just about, on Bible codes and leading the resistance against Satan on earth, and the radio shows. I've never had a salary. No guy would do my job. No man would have done it. Father once told me I do the work of 10 men. You know what? In Revelation chapter 3:5, he that overcometh, the same shall be clothed in white raiment, and I will not blot out his name out of the book of life, but I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Do you realize what that says? That says that he will not blot out your name, which means if your name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life because you accepted Yahushua as your Savior, and your name gets written in the Lamb's Book of Life, your name can get written out of it. It can be blotted out. There's no such thing as eternal sleep, folks, eternal security. Get saved and then go do what you want. If you're not producing fruit for the Father's kingdom on earth, and you're not living for Him, and you're not focused for Him, your name gets blotted out of the book. It's taken out. Plain and simple. Oh, I'm sure I'm going to get lectures after this show from the know-it-alls. People who want to quote me Paul. Don't bother. I don't want to hear Paul. Paul is Satan's agent of deception for the churches today, and they can't wake up and see it. That's why they're just going to drown in it. Do you think Paul's in heaven today? He's not in heaven. He's in the core of hell, where those who rejected Yahushua are, those who hated him are, those who persecuted his people are. He's not in heaven. He's not with the apostles. He's not standing with them. Most of you are going to follow him right to the core, because no one can wake you up. The Father can't wake you up. I can't wake you up. No one else can wake you up. You just want to stay in your errors and your apostasies and die in your apostasies. Wake up, folks. You know, I wrote this article back in the early 2000s where the churches went wrong, the deception of the ages. I also wrote an article, The Sign of the End of the Age. I need to go to my website, sherryschreiner.com, and read these. Because that's exactly what we're going through now. All the apostasies. The Edomites running the churches today. Fake Christians, the pseudo-Christians that lead you away from the truth. There's a website online. Jesus Words Only. You can't go wrong there. You can't go wrong eliminating everything but his words only. I always said Matthew was my favorite book because it had the most words in red than any other book in the Bible. And if you get a red letter edition KJV, when it's in red, it's Yahushua speaking directly, a direct quote from him. And Matthew had the most chapters in red than any other book, so it was always my favorite book. Just want to hear what he has to say. Does anybody else stand above him? No. James is pretty close. James was his brother. He led the church in Jerusalem. There's a lot of truths that have been blocked from the churches, especially about the early church of Jerusalem that James and Peter were leading, and John. There's a lot of truths of back in the day that will always be hidden, and why the Dead Sea Scrolls will never be released to the public, because it has a lot of that history that they're trying to bury contained within those Dead Sea Scrolls. Paul's excommunication from the church, the fact that he threw James down the steps trying to kill him, the temple of the church. Oh, there's a lot of drama. And it's all been hidden, kept from the churches. But it doesn't matter because it doesn't pertain to your particular salvation. Salvation comes from whether you accept Yeshua and follow him or not. Not whether you follow James or whether you follow Paul. But the problem with so many people is they replace the Lord's ways and his teachings with Paul's. If you feel nagging to celebrate the feasts and the appointed times, that's the Father's Spirit leading you to following his ways and away from the paganisms of the churches. Jeremiah said, don't be like the pagans and cut down a tree and decorate it with lights and decorations. But we're to ignore Jeremiah because Paul said, cut down a tree. Have at it. Decorate it. Have at it. Paul said it was okay. Paul said it was okay to ignore Passover and celebrate eggs and fertility goddesses. Paul said that was okay. Have at it. Even if Yeshua commanded that we follow his appointed times and feasts, everybody takes Paul's word instead. The elect aren't fooled by this. The elect are led by the Father and his Spirit. And he's woken them up and he's pulling them out of their apostasies and into their true callings on earth. The elect are the minority. And that's why they're so hated, ganged up on by everybody else, because they're the majority. They don't want to be told that they're wrong, that they're apostate, they're producing no fruit for the Father, and in danger of even being accepted into heaven, because their faiths are dead. Without works you have no faith. Your works solidify who you are. You have nothing to solidify who you are but your words when you say, well, I'm a follower of Jesus. And then during the day you're at the bars, you're doing drugs, you're beating on people, you have a narcissistic personality, you're not showing any love towards people, it's all hate, selfishness, and egoism. The Lord's people are humble. They're meek people. It's so easy when you meet somebody and you can feel the Lord's Spirit in them compared to someone who doesn't have His Spirit in them. Learn how to discern energies, folks. That's the biggest thing. Asking the Father for discernment. Not much time left. Get it right. I don't know if I'm here to save anybody at this point or just telling you why you're left here. Why you're being left. Because I done give up on the Christian community. I give up on the bride. You can't get through to them. They all like their apostasies, Easter eggs, Nimrod, penis, Christmas trees. They don't want to hear James. They don't want to hear Jeremiah. They don't want to hear Yahushua. They want their Paul, their God of the New Testament. So I'm not here to save them. I'm here to tell them why they're being left behind. I figure I've done what I can to lead people to the Father. He said, lead my people back to me. I've written 3 books, umpteen websites. I've done over 400 radio shows. I've done what I can. Now I'm just here to tell you why you didn't make the first rapture group and why you won't make the second and probably why you won't make the third. The first group's leaving fairly soon. It would be nice if it was Monday the 21st. I'm not saying it is, unless I see the sign. The Father told me to watch for a particular sign. When I see it, I'll let you know. But when I see that sign, it means the first group is leaving. And the second group would leave. Could be fairly soon after or a short while after. It really depends on what they do. The last group would leave shortly before they start enforcing the mark of the beast, the Church of Philadelphia. And that's when they start to enforce it. You know, there's going to be a while, the soft sell now, where they try to deceive people into getting the mark of the beast for technological and banking reasons. Look at the convenience. Look how easy it is. Wave your hand. They'll try to entice you and bribe you to get it now. And those of you who don't have relationships with the Father will be the ones that fall for that. Because if you're not led by His Spirit, you're going to ignore His pleadings with you not to get the chip. You're just going to ignore Him. They wanted that hardcore September 2017. They wanted that mandatory in September 2017. I don't know if they'll get their mandatory, but who knows? Who knows? All they have to do is shut down the banking system, say, okay, now everybody has to get the chip if you want to re-access your bank accounts. They can do whatever they want. Everything's a push of a button now. But let me ask you people this. They're sold on the ease and convenience of your chip implants, just waving it, and doors opening, and what happens when the grid goes down? Does that mean you get rid of your keys and you can't open doors anymore? You can't turn your computers on with the wave of a hand? Because we all know the grid's going down, so how good's that going to do you for technological reasons when there's no electric to begin with? Your chip's not going to work. You sold your soul to the devil, and it won't even open a door for you. You might fall for that stuff. It's so stupid. But I have videos out on that. I got like 3 different videos on the chip, RFID, beast implant. I've got a video or a radio show on just about anything you could imagine, about 10 times over, because all I've been doing is kicking the same wheel down the can for 17 years. It's the same info. Truth doesn't change. I've been calling it since 2002. Everybody just wants to hate on me. I don't even care. I could care less. I'm here for the Father. I've done what He asked me to do. I've done it. I really hope this time next week I'm elated and I see this brilliant sign from heaven stating we're going home. If not, we brace for the coming storms. The end of August isn't going to be pretty. I just said bizarre weather. He didn't say it was going to be bad. He just said it was going to be bizarre. I've been looking at bizarre weather for a long time. People sending me videos. I've already been screaming about the dual sunsets for a while now. One in the southeast and one in the northwest. The sun rising just over, the moon rising at night just over the eastern horizon at 2 a.m. Hello? It's just coming up over the horizon at 2 a.m. in the east. That's the moon we've had the last couple days. If you go out there at 3 a.m., it might be east high enough to where you can actually see it. So you tell me how it gets all the way to the western part of the sky, because the Bible says the sun and moon are supposed to be on opposite sides of the sky. One is the light of the day and one's the light of the night, and they travel on opposite sides of the sky. When the sun's in the east, the moon should be in the west. And when the sun's in the west, the moon should be rising up in the east. And it traverses the sky over the earth overnight. Well, stand in your faith, folks. Stand up for it. Stand in it. Don't fall over. Don't believe the doctrines the wolves are preaching today. Don't believe the bribes and the lies they're pushing on television today, because there's not one person that can get on TV today who hasn't sold their soul to the devil. If you want a show on television, you have to sign the dotted line. You have to sell your soul to the devil, and that includes all the Christian preachers. So that's what as far as what all liars they are, because they've all sold their soul to the devil. And the reason they get TV shows on TV, lie to you and lead you to hell. That's their sole purpose, to make money and lead you to hell with their false teachings. Anyway, folks, I'll be back on Wednesday, whatever the Lord wants to have me say then. Till then, yeah, boss.